You're live.
Hi, I'm Jackie McCutcheon, and what I wanted to talk to you a little bit about is the fact I am a male to female trans woman, and I am also president of the DuPage Now um, chapter. I also have two television shows. One is an internet show, and one is a cable access show in Chicago. And both shows are basically for the transgender community, okay? And what I'd like to do is talk a little bit about the issues that we still have within the community. Some states are a little bit worse positioned than some others. We currently have 30 states right now that actually have not included gender identity or the term transgender into their equal rights legislation, which frankly means that if you're transgender, then you actually can be fired from your employer or by your employer from your employment just for being transgender, regardless of what your work record may look like. Okay. There is also in those same states, there's no protection on housing. There's no protection on health. Okay. In fact, there are currently 45 states that have not mandated health insurance for transgenders. The only 5 states that thus far have are Virginia, Connecticut, Colorado, California, and Oregon. Okay. For those, if you've seen the Caitlyn Jenner interview, she pretty much outlined a lot of the things that trans women go through. There is a lot of emotional, there's a lot of emotional pains to go through. Accepting yourself is probably the one of the largest painful things to go through, to accept oneself, let alone other people accepting you. Okay. That's difficult for both adults and youth. Some statistics you may not be aware of is that 60% of the suicides amongst youth are transgender related. 40% of the youth homelessness is transgenders. Okay. Again, back to Caitlyn Jenner. One of the things that was mentioned by Diane Sawyer was that she estimated the transgender population to be roughly 780,000, which is very, very low. All of the therapists that I have had on my internet TV show all agree, and I've had 5 or 6, and they all agree that roughly 3 to 5% of our population worldwide, or within the states, or anywhere for that matter, actually have gender identity questions or concerns, which means in the United States alone we have somewhere between 9 and 15 million transgenders. Now, the problem is that most people don't see them because 87% probably of our population or of our community actually are part-time cross-dressers that don't go out into public, again because of consequences and concerns, and there's a lot of hate crimes out there. Just in 2015 alone, the first 3 months of this year, there were 7 murders over the throughout the United States of trans women. Okay, so we still have a long ways to go. We have 18 or 19 states that have included gender identity into their equal rights legislation. But that doesn't mean that those laws are being enforced, that we have acceptance by any large margin. It's interesting to note that on the Caitlyn Jenner interview, there were 17 million people that tuned in, but there's 315 million people in the United States. So that tells you how many are not concerned about what it's all about. And that is a very significant number. Okay? It's very difficult for a lot of trans to really come out and talk about themselves for the simple reason that, again, there's consequences, loss of job. Maybe their spouse says, I want a divorce. Then they lose the relationship with their kids, lose their relationship with their parents, lose their relationship with siblings, lose their relationship with friends and relatives and so on. There is a considerable amount of suicide within the trans community, and probably most trans genders, especially trans women, generally go through a very, very difficult period of depression for the simple reason that they do go through all of this soul searching and what am I going to do? I, for example, have not heard from my son, who's 40 years old, have not heard from him in 11 years because he doesn't accept who I am or what I am, however you want to put it. So it's a very difficult situation for trans women. The nice thing is that, I guess the best part is that the trans community has a lot more younger people showing that they're not going to be intimidated and that they, in fact, are coming out quicker at an earlier age and a lot more confident in who they are, which is really good. That couldn't have been said 10, 20, 30 years ago, I believe. But that is the world of the transgender community for trans women as well as trans men. Okay? And I guess what I want to say is one of the things that people have a hard time understanding is the concept that a person can actually identify as someone or someone other than the traditional binary gender that they were born into. And a lot of people think that it's something that is a choice, which it is not, something that is something you can change, and it is not. It's going to be there. Again, if we go back to one of my previous statements where we've got 3 to 5% that don't, or we got 3 to 5% of the population that are transgender, but you don't see a lot of them, is because some of them are really afraid to act on their feelings and their identity. So it is, it's very hard. It's very hard for trans folks to really get confident. Luckily, we do have some states where it's a lot easier versus other states. Metropolitan areas seem to have a lot more resources and information and understanding, and so those are places where you're going to see a lot more trans folks. There are some very, very gorgeous trans women out there that are not what we consider passable, and that is a big concern of a lot of trans women is, are they passable or not? And many, such as myself, probably wish we looked a little better than Janet Reno, who used to be our Surgeon General during, I forget what administration, but anyway. It is a hard life, and without support, without understanding, and without acceptance, it's a very difficult life to live.
Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome.